Good evening all, and welcome to another video on All How That Out. Tonight we are doing a double dry hop double IPA showdown. Which two is it? It's these two. It is What Are the Odds from Magic Rock and IKAT from Salt. And we're doing this just purely for fun, just to compare the two beers against the 5 pillars of judgment, which you usually see in the video, and just see which one comes out on top. You know, nothing more to it than that. They're both double dry hop double IPAs, available in your local Tesco for £3.50 a can. And they weigh in at 8.3% and 8% respectively. So they're pretty similar on paper, and indeed when you compare the untapped scoreboard of joy, you know, they are pretty close as well. You've got 309 check-ins for What Are the Odds at 3.87 average, and a slightly higher average of 3.94, but it's over nearly 10,000 check-ins on the IKAT. So yeah, they're pretty close on paper and in spec. So we're going to pour them, see what we think. So we're going to pour the What Are the Odds first into a Brewdog glass, just for fun, and see what that's like. If you saw last week's video, you know it's a good looking beer. So the pour on this one is nicely coloured with a lovely head on it. You've got haze, you've got inclusions, you've got an off-white head that you've got a good 2.5 fingers worth. It's not particularly consistent today, but it's still a good looking beer. You know, the head, I've had it where it's super creamy, I've had it where it's super foamy. This is somewhere in the middle. You can't deny it's a good looking beer. So yeah, that's that one. And the IKAT, we're going to pour into a Northern Monk glass. So the pour on this one is slightly paler. See if we can encourage a bit of a bigger head on it. There we go. So it's a little bit paler in colour. It's markedly hazier than the What Are the Odds, and you've got a very similar looking head. I mean, comparing side by side, you know, obviously the What Are the Odds is a bit darker. It's a little bit clearer, and you've got inclusions that you haven't really got in the IKAT. So it's, you know, it's one of them. They've both got winning attributes about them in terms of the appearance. I would, in this instance, say I prefer the look of the IKAT because it's just a little bit more consistent and it's a little bit murkier. And when I've got a double dry hop, double IPA, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So the first point of the day goes to IKAT. That gets the 1. So 1-0 for the IKAT so far. Next up is the AROMA. We're going to start on this one as we did before with What Are the Odds. So the AROMA, oh yeah, I do love the AROMA. It's pineapple, it's mango, it's guava, it's citrus, it's creamy, it's potent, it's delicious. It's everything you expect in a beer of this magnitude. I mean, obviously the Sabro is bringing out just that creaminess, but the whole thing, it just screams tropical and it's lovely. So the IKAT is juicier. It's more mandarin. I'm getting a big whiff of mandarin off the bat. It's all orange, this particular batch of IKAT. It's a little bit one-dimensional, which I can't levy against previous batches. This one, though, it's got a slight boozy tang to it. There's a little bit of sharpness, perhaps sort of verging on the passion fruit type thing. But otherwise, it's sort of a really sharp, kind of pull your ass up to your elbows mandarin. It's a point there for What Are the Odds? Clearly, it's just got so much more about it. So it's yeah, it's 1-1. It's, yeah, that was a no-brainer. You know, big punchy tropical fruits versus one-dimensional mandarin, and yeah, the complexity of What Are the Odds is going to win every time. So let's go for the body. So the body on the What Are the Odds, more than medium. The mouthfeel is slightly fizzy, a little bit effervescent. Really, really good. It's not heavy as I'd like, but, you know, it's a supermarket beer at £3.50. We've got to bear that in mind. It's never going to have that kind of real big, heavy oaty body, and certainly not in a double IPA. So it's been a long time since I've had a double IPA of any kind that's been that heavy that you can compare it to a stout. But IKAT, very similar. Very, very similar. Similar in the body, similar in the mouthfeel. That's a tough one to call. And when it's that close, you know, you can't really call it. We're going to give that one a draw. You know, they're too close to call. There's literally nothing separating the body on those two beers. They are almost exactly the same. Now we come to the point that is the most contentious, maybe, but it's certainly the most important. It's the taste, and that's exactly what matters. So, what are the odds? We've got big tropical aromas. Does that match? Big boozy number. There's no hiding the 8.3% that is contained within what are the odds. And the flavours that you get back up the aromas really nicely. There is an emphasis on a slightly underripe stone fruit. A little bit of that mango coming through. And pineapple, whilst it's prominent on the nose in this particular can, it's not quite so obvious on the taste. But it is well-rounded, it is complex. You've got a subtle malt backbone backing it up towards the back end, but it's really, really nice nonetheless. Spot on. IKAT, let's say big mandarin on the nose. Not quite as boozy, but certainly as well-rounded. You know, it's got a full flavour. Both of them are nice and bitter. They're not in-your-face bitter, but they've got just enough bitterness for someone who really likes some bitter, hoppy and in-your-face. And both of these beers are indeed hoppy. There's no hiding it at all. The only real difference is that the IKAT is much smoother. That alcohol burn isn't there. Does that make it better? Does it make it worse? That's entirely up to you. It's very much a subjective thing. For me, I like a little bit of burn. I like it because it lets you know you're drinking something that's a little bit more potent than your average beer. And it's just, yeah, it is what it is. I'm going to go for another sip of both, though, because they're both excellent. You get a little bit more coconut, a little bit of creaminess from the what are the odds. The mandarin that you get on the nose of the IKAT is, it's there on the flavour, and it's a little bit drier. Ooh, it's a tricky one. They're both excellent. Which one wins? Which one wins? What are the odds? Only because it's a little bit more going on in the flavour than it has in the IKAT. You know, you've got the stone fruit, you've got the pineapple, you've got the big boozy burn, you've got a little bit of creaminess. Whereas the IKAT, it's still hoppy and slightly boozy, but not as much. It's just a little bit flatter and a little bit more one-dimensional. So that is another point for what are the odds? 2-1 with a draw on the body. Which leaves us on the final test. That is the finish. You know, it's fitting to it to be the end, really. So we all know that I say we all know, you might not. It might be the first video you've watched. If it is, welcome along. But otherwise, you'll know that I like my finishes long, bitter, hoppy and intense, particularly with a double IPA. So I'll be looking for that here. What are the odds? It starts out tropical. It fades into smooth, hoppy goodness. Bitterness is there. It's right there at the beginning, and it does kind of dissipate as the finish goes on. And you're just left with that beautiful hop profile that just screams tropical all day long. Still going. Creaminess is coming through. And I could sit and sip this slowly like a whiskey all night just to get that finish. Delicious. Yeah, it's pretty much gone, but it's beautiful. It's beautiful. IKAT. The bitterness is a bit more intense in the finish, and then it fades into the mandarin. And it's like a mandarin that's perhaps been sat there for a little while, so it's a little bit drier than a fresh one. It's that kind of level of juiciness, you know, and it's sitting there, it's fading away into a sweeter, hoppier, drier finish, in more importantly. They're both excellent finishes. I like the bitterness that comes through more on the IKAT at the beginning of the finish, but I like the tropical goodness of the What Are the Odds. It's another really tough one to call. I've got to though, go for another taste of each. I do enjoy the booziness that starts on the What Are the Odds. And the IKAT's a little bit creamier, despite being more bitter on the finish. Oh, that is a tough one to call. That really is tough. That really is tough. This is a lot harder than I thought it would be. I mean, both are excellent, and indeed both beers have scored very, very highly from myself on Untapped. So, yeah, tricky one indeed. I'm going to give it to the IKAT, and that's only because of that extra little bit of bitterness on the finish, which puts me in a slightly awkward 2-2 position on the final scoreboard, which means, can I try and separate them on the body? Really can't. It's impossible. It's going to have to be a score draw. But we're going to make the decider on the taste, because taste is king. And with the point scored by Watto, What Are the Odds, from the taste, you know, I'm going to give a slight advantage to the What Are the Odds, which, you know, some people might sort of frown upon that decision. Some people might think actually it's deserved, and all credit to the brewers for making a cracking beer, because really that's what counts. They're both excellent beers. You're not going to lose on either one, let's be honest. If you've never tried a double dry hop, double IPA, both are superb places to start. You know, there's excellent double hop, dry hopped double IPAs. Bit of a tongue twister, really. Out there in the world, you know, these are supermarket offerings. There are some excellent ones out there in bottle shops near you, and indeed online at the moment, let's be honest, because we're still in the middle of a pandemic, although we're hopefully close to the end with the vaccine rollout. But yeah, in the meantime, make sure you stay safe. Stay home where you can, drink good beer, and thoroughly enjoy yourselves. But we're at the point in the video now with that particular line where I'm going to say, down there are some buttons. You know exactly what to do with them by now. You've got the like, comment, dislike, and subscribe. Choose any combination of them as you wish. And let me know in the comment section below if you've tried What Are the Odds, or if you've tried IKAT, and which one you prefer out of the two. Do you agree with my findings? Do you find something entirely different? So there we are. I'm going to go and enjoy these beers. Get the video posted on YouTube for your viewing pleasure, and I will catch you again soon for another one. Bye.